From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. On today's show, I have on a colleague and friend named Christine Vargo. Christine is a therapist, and she's also a coach who works with women in women-loving women relationships who are struggling with limerent feelings. As we move through this episode, and we touch on many different topics, one of the ones we touch on time and time again, and also an experience Christine shares in her own personal life that brought her to this place of really wanting to support women who were feeling limerence, has to do with women coming out later in life and jumping quickly into a relationship before they've actually really discovered what being gay or being not straight means for them. And that is why I just want to remind you about Unbox Your Sexuality, a sexuality liberation program. This program is exactly for you if you are that woman that is starting to question, already coming out, or already out, but you haven't done any deep work with yourself. This program is going to help you do a deep dive, create coherent narratives, connect your dots. So as a gay woman in the world or as a not straight woman in the world, you will understand how you got here and you will have a very coherent narrative. Check it out on unboxyoursexuality.com. That's the website. And now here I am with Christine for the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. Today I have Christine Vargo as my guest. I'm very excited and I want to say welcome and happy Pride. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Happy Pride. It's good to be here.
So Christine reached out to me, I don't know, a few months ago and was like, hey, we have some, overlapping topics that we cover and areas that we work in. So let's collaborate. And we did it in Instagram Live and that was really fun. So thought we would get together and do a podcast for you guys in Pride Month. And we were going to focus on limerence, which is Christine's area of expertise, and lesbians and later in life lesbians, and also U-hauling, which is a thing that we all know so well, right? And it's the perfect month to talk about it. So Christine, if you could just share a little bit about maybe how did you get into this area? Like what made you want to really specialize in limerence?
It's an interesting story because you kind of fall into the things that you're meant to do and focus on. And, like I say, like your deepest wound is your purpose. And so after my second marriage ended, I was doing a lot of work on myself and trying to figure out what the fuck happened. I was just doing a lot of soul searching and trying to understand okay, I'm not doing this again. And it was really kind of born from this experience that I had with a client who kind of brought the word to me. And I was like, I don't even know what that word means. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, wow. And then I just kind of put it away. And then the beginning of this year, spirit guided, I don't know, the universe was like limerence, limerence, limerence. And it kept coming up. And so I was like, fine. I was just literally guided to post about it. And then I did one kind of social post on Instagram and was like the difference between limerence and love. And I tailored it to understanding my experience, trying to understand and really answer for myself. Okay, was this experience that I was in or have been in throughout my life, what my patterns were? Was it limerence or was it love? And so it was really a question about me trying to understand myself. And it really took off and got a lot of engagement and a lot of people questioning and a lot of people saying, like, where have you been? I've been in private practice. I'm a therapist in private practice for I've been in the work for over 20 years, but in some capacity, but I've been in private practice for almost 15 years now and kind of worked with more people with anxiety, depression, life transition, communication, relationship stuff. And this whole niche of like working specifically with queer women, wanting to work with the LGBTQIA community is something that I think was always kind of in the back of my mind as like something that was important. I remember a long time ago when I first started in social work and doing social work stuff and having a conversation with my dad and he was like, I don't know if you want to like niche totally into the queer community. I don't know if you're gonna how successful that would be. And it was like his own kind of bias, I think, or like fear for me. But I think my nervous system, my intuition, my guides have always known that like, yep, this is the thing that you're meant to do and that you're meant to focus on. And so it's been really healing for me in my own journey, but also really powerful and empowering to like be able to hold space. And I'm dialing in right fit clients that are like really struggling with what we're, kind of understanding and identifying as like limerence hits differently in our community than it does in like the straight world. And so wanting to understand why that is, and I want to like flip the script on that. And I want to understand like, okay, we know it's a stereotype, and I know we'll get into this. We know it's a stereotype, and it's like kind of well known that lesbians like U-Haul and they get together after the second date and they're already moving in together. And I've had, a very accelerated experience with my most recent relationship and really wanting to learn from that experience and understand like, okay, like what is going on in our nervous systems? Why do we do this so quickly? What's the thing that we're trying to like accomplish getting together so quickly? So I'm really like all my research and trying to dig into and understand myself has led me to this place.
Love that. So great and such important work,
Yeah.
and I relate personally also in, all of the work that I do come from lived experience as well. So something that comes up when I'm listening to you talk about this and kind of getting your right fit clients is, and maybe you've experienced this with yourself as well, but I'm curious, does it seem like if you are someone who does experience limerence, that you will then experience it multiple times? So in other words, when a client comes to you and they're in it,
Hmm.
is it something that like they struggle with in general, like anxiety or depression? It's general, right? Is this like generalized limerence? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a great question. It's what I've been understanding more and more and doing the research and kind of listening to different people, different professionals who've like studied limerence for decades at this point is really it's people who are like neurodivergent are more prone to experience limerence. People who have childhood trauma are more prone or kind of like vulnerable to the experience of limerence and recognizing that it's not a formal diagnosis in the DSM, but it's something that can be a pattern. Like I know for me personally, it's been a pattern throughout my life, whether it's like really hooking into and wanting to be close to like, you know, a babysitter for like reasons I could not name or understand, or wanting to know, like I know the very first woman that I came out to, like, I had a crush on her, and I didn't know what to do with those feelings, and it was, like, really confusing for me, and I couldn't understand why I wanted to just be close to this person, and that was before I came out, and she was actually, she explained a lot to me 'cause the 3 she had met me, like, 3 years before I finally was like, "I need to talk to you about something," and she was like, "Does it have something to do with the fact that you think you're gay?" And I was like, "What the fuck? Like, how did you know that?" And,
This is
yeah.
before you were out. You weren't
This
out
is
yet.
before I was out. Yeah, it was,
Okay.
like, as I was going through my process and trying to make sense of things. I was trying to, like, wrap my mind around it. So I know for me, it's been this, like, kind of I'm neurodivergent. I have some childhood trauma, and so it's, like, the perfect storm of being more kind of vulnerable to the experience of limerence. Yeah.
Okay. So and of course I just have like questions that we could just keep going on, but
Yeah.
I would love if you could just define limerence for the audience, because some people might not really know what it means. So what
Yes,
is limerence?
absolutely. So I want to, like, my like very quick definition is like you're obsessed with another person, and it's a neurochemical thing in your brain. So it's like it can feel like love because like we all experience limerence in the beginning of a relationship, right? And it's like, oh my God, I'm like obsessed with this person. I want to like be close to them. I want to spend all my time with them. I want to know all the things they can do no wrong. And then I like to say limerence that's gone too far, or it hasn't evolved into genuine love, which I think is a lot of times what happens, especially when two women get together, is like that obsessive, like, you're high on love feeling can be mistaken. The intensity of that can be mistaken for love. And you're like, yes, I absolutely love you. Like, you're my person. This is the thing. And then slowly over time, what I understand is like you can have the two different experiences of like somebody who has a limerent object in their life is somebody who's not available to them, or there's like the guiding kind of framework is like there's hope and there's uncertainty. So if you have hope that something can happen and you're uncertain about how that person feels about you, that's the thing that can fuel the limerence. And the limerence is like, I'm obsessed with this person. I can't function. I can't do anything else. I'm ignoring other parts of my life. I am abandoning myself all over the place. I'm not meeting my own needs. I'm trying to just do whatever I can to have access to this person. And I'm willing to accept whatever is being offered to me. And if there's uncertainty in that, then that's the thing that fuels it.
And when you say the uncertainty, so I just want to really understand. So,
Yeah.
um, okay. So when you first get into a relationship with somebody, not always, because I was having my community call yesterday for Beyond Straight, and we were
Hmm.
actually talking about limerence. That
Mm.
was what we talked about.
Love.
And one of the women said, what if the relationship I'm in never started with those feelings?
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
that, like, it was never like that with us. Like, I was never like, "Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I wanna be with her," like, all the time. It was just very mature and slow and clear and transparent, and we've built up over a year and, you
Amazing.
know
Yeah.
yeah, right. But so first of all, it's like, yeah, not all relationships start with this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing that you said that really stood out for me was with this experience that you had with this friend that kind of called you out before you were out,
Yeah.
is that because I work with later in life lesbians, this description that you had of this experience with this person where like you just wanted to be around her and you just wanted to, like, you were thinking about what is she doing and how can I get closer to her, and I just have these feelings when I'm around her, but like I don't know really what they mean and I don't know really what to do with them, which might be limerence. But also it's like, I mean, I've had that experience a number of times before I even knew I was gay.
Yeah.
And it never went anywhere. And then the person would move away or whatever it was. And I was just like, I wish I could find them. But then that was it. So I just think also there's something really, I guess I want to really normalize how those feelings do happen, especially when you're coming out later and you don't
Yeah.
really know what it feels like. Like, what does attraction feel like to a woman? Because I've
Right.
been with men, but to a woman, like, am I attracted to this person or what is this that I'm feeling with this person?
Absolutely. 100%. And I agree. And I think, and I appreciate you making that clarification because it is something that like I feel I'm in my own work and journey trying to understand like, have I been feeling limerence or have I been feeling what you're describing as like working through and navigating, reckoning the understanding what those feelings are towards a woman if your conditioning is what it is and the conditioning is what it is for all of us and we're all in the same like we're all swimming in the same water, right? So recognizing that what I'm understanding the deeper I go into it is maybe what I was feeling was more attachment dynamics, or what I was feeling was what you're describing, and it's not fully limerence. And so I think the distinction that I'm learning and understanding is like it's so debilitating when you're feeling fully limerent that you can't focus on anything else, and you can't, like, it's like it's like the addiction piece, and that it's rooted and built in like the uncertainty, and the uncertainty around like whether or not somebody is going to reciprocate that energy. And the thing that, like, I understand that can like help dissipate the limerence is no contact, is getting the answer to the question of like, if you have somebody who is, you have a limerent object and you say to them like, I have a crush on you, or I have these feelings for you, and then they shut it down, or they say, I don't feel the same way, then it can dissipate. But
Okay.
as long as there's uncertainty in the mix, that's the thing that's driving it.
And then on the flip side of that, if you're
Hmm.
having those feelings and you share it with somebody and they say, well, I'm actually like attracted to you also,
Hmm.
then does that also stop the limerence?
I think that can stop the limerence, as long as it can stop the limerence and move into like genuine love. If there's like a pace to it, if there's transparency with it, if there's like, if you're remembering your interdependence, you're not developing into like an enmeshment or codependent dynamic. That's the thing that can help it evolve into something different. So yeah. Which is why I think, a lot of times if there are relationships that do start with these like feelings, right? Like, and it's like, I think Hollywood, like movies, TV shows, like they give us this like idea, or like, it's like Bridgerton, for example, is like, if you've watched any of those shows from like the period piece shows, it's like they fall in love so quickly. But like really what's happening is a good representation of viewing limerence. It's like, I can't think, I can't focus, I'm consumed by you. It's the Romeo and Juliet kind of effect, right? And that's different than like pacing yourself and being in love and like gradually getting to know somebody and giving yourselves the space to really know and understand. And I think a lot of it, to bring it back to like late in life lesbians, and you can speak to this, is like, because there's such a concentrated amount of like energy around the excitement of like, oh, I finally understand myself. I want to partner with somebody so quickly, that you bypass the pacing. And that's where I think the U-hauling effect can get really big.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, but I don't think it's late in life lesbians that got the U-hauling started. It's it's lesbians that got the U-hauling started. The late in
That's
life
fair.
lesbians are just participating in it. So, yeah, so then let's change it to, what is it just about, woman loving woman relationships that, create that speed and that fire and that need to like be together every single second and be connected every single second. And now, we're gonna move in, and now we're gonna get married, and we're gonna do it all together. And yeah, like, what if it's not the woman who's like, I'm 50 and I've waited 35 years to finally do this thing, and now I want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's actually like lesbians that came out when they were like 21, yeah, like, is that just the romanticizing, as you were saying before? There's like this romanticizing of limerence, essentially. Like, that's what we are fed. That's what we see,
Hmm.
through media.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's part of that, but I also think it's, like, for myself personally, like I had already had a 12-year relationship with my first wife. And I was like, I've done all this work. I know myself. I know what I want to do. I know what I want. And like when I met my most recent ex, like we'd both come out of 12-year relationships, and we were just like kind of believing in this knowing of like, yep, you're my person. Like, let's do this. And I was like, everything else is logistics. Like, we're going to have so much fun together. And so we moved in together very quickly, and had a wedding very quickly. And then life got really hard, and we didn't have the foundation that we needed in order for it to be stable. And so learning from that experience, it was like, oh, yeah, there was a whole lot that we tried to just skip over. And she came out later in life. I came out when I was 21 when I came out. And I'd already had, like, I had a boyfriend in high school, and like I had dated a few men here and there. And then, like, my whole journey has been, dating women, dating some men, and then just trying to figure out. And so for me, it was like I was in a different place, and I knew I was like, yeah, like, this is my person. And I think in hindsight, now looking back, like, I don't believe that my ex had given herself enough time, and she had said this to me, so I'm not putting words in her mouth. I don't think she gave herself enough time to process what the experience of coming out meant to her. And so I have a lot of respect and love and admiration for the way that she was able to kind of come to that awareness. And, we're both better off for having known each other. And I think for me, my work is now centered around, like, it was also very painful when things ended. And so my drive now is like, I don't want women who love, I don't want anyone. I want women who love women to go through something similar and, like, feel the depth of that kind of heartbreak of, like, oh, like, if you're somebody who's come out late in life, and, like, what's the work, and this is where your work comes in. It's like, what are the work that you're doing? What's the work that you're doing to understand yourself more
So much
fully
work. So much
in
work.
that experience, so you can show up in relationships going forward, regardless of age, and, in a way that feels aligned and feels paced enough, so you can have a foundation for yourself, whether it's like being with yourself or being with others.
So would you say then that for you, that relationship started with limerence?
I think we both were kind of like in this limerence feeling. In hindsight, I like in the beginning, it was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I love you. Like, automatically, it was just so quick for me. And so, like, we had our first date, and then we kept talking and texting and, like, writing poetry. And, like, 3 days in, I was like, you're my person. By our second date, I was like, I love you. And, like, we had barely had any, like, we had, it was like literally our second day. It was like a full day date in the city and, like, doing all kinds of things. But, like, we had, the way that we got to know each other was through audio message, through text messaging, through, like, just because we both have kids, and we had to, like, the thing that slowed us down, if any of it was slow, was the fact that we had kids, and we needed to, like, pace ourselves and introducing them to each other, which we kind of did and didn't do. And so we had our one date, and then it was like a couple weeks later we had a second date, and, like, by the second date I was like, "Yep, you're my person." And so, and that felt so real to me. And I feel like, the mind fuck for me was like, well, how do I trust my intuition going forward now? If, like, that's the thing that felt so real to me. And so for me, it's been learning and digging into and understanding and kind of unpacking that. For me, it's been my work for the last almost year. So yeah.
Did you have that experience also with your first wife?
No, with my first wife, it was a slower process. We got together like 2 weeks after she finished law school. And so, like, the first part of our beginning was her studying for the bar. And so she had to do a lot of studying. And so I think that was the thing that paced us. Like, we couldn't be together every night because she was studying for the bar. But I remember it being, you know, I remember that experience being less so about, it's hard to remember because it's been like 20 years, but feeling limerence, like, but I had other people in my life where in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, wow, that is what that really was like, feeling like, oh, maybe I'm drawn to this person, or I want to live the same way this other person lives her life. And that's the thing that was fueling the limerence, is like being uncertain about how she felt about me, or like whether it was like a friend of a friend or like somebody that was in my life for 20 years. And so for me, I didn't have the same kind of concentrated feelings that I had for my most recent ex, for my first wife, but I was also kind of really beginning stages of really understanding myself. And I think when I met my second wife, I believe I understood. I had been a therapist for a long time, so I'd understood myself. I'd done some work. I was just more, had more processed a lot more, and so that's why to me it felt so confusing. And like digging in and doing this work, it's like, oh, I think my ex and I we never had a conversation about it, but I would be curious to know if what she feels looking back on how we got together, if she would agree with my assessment that we were both in this like phase of limerence, and then we didn't have the foundation that we needed to
when things
really,
got
when things got hard. Yeah. So it's been, it's been something that I feel like in hindsight I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, like I was kind of obsessed with this one person for a long time. And then no contact or not having them be in my life like dissipates, it's kind of like it doesn't go anywhere. So the feelings fade, and that's what happens. But I think it's definitely different from the experience of love, which is something that I feel like like my first girlfriend and I, like I don't have my very first girlfriend. I think we did fall in love. And then this other woman that I dated before I moved to New York, I feel like if I look back on that, that was probably more limerence. It's like my behavior in those relationships was different. Like my behavior, like, and one relationship before I moved to New York was like I focused all of my energy was like focused on her and like what she was doing, and I was like enamored, and like it was just this thing that was kind of one-sided. Or ultimately I ended up abandoning myself in these different dynamics, and I abandoned myself with my first wife in different ways, and with my most recent ex it was also self-abandonment. And I think that's the thing to me that indicates like, oh, this is something that that is rooted in something that doesn't have like a solid foundation. Or I believe I could be 100% myself in that dynamic, especially in the beginning, but then slowly over time, I start to mask, or I start to like hide a little bit, or I start to like just focus on things that are outside of me. And then that's a good indication to me that I've abandoned something somewhere.
And is that in order to keep things smooth and flowing and good? It's sort of like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to pay attention, like, ooh, that didn't feel good, but I'm not going to really pay that much attention to that. And like that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did I hear you right when you said with the no contact, like having no contact afterwards, like going completely no contact,
Mhm.
that the feelings continue to be there? Like I don't know, like the limerence continues to be there when the contact is cut off or something like that?
I think, well, I think that they can, what I'm understanding in my own lived experience is like they can continue to be there as long as there's like a sense of hope.
Hope is the piece. Yeah. The hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's
And
if
I,
there's any
yeah.
if there any part of you that has a hope that, oh, maybe we'll get back together, or and I think this is something that often happens is like, especially in our community, we can have a desire, or a longing to maintain connection and be friends with our exes.
Yes.
Right? It's something that's like, because the community is so small, because it's chosen family, because this person feels familiar. Um,
Yes.
but I think often what happens is like there isn't enough space that's created in order to energetically shift from like being in a physical or a romantic partnership with somebody to a friendship. What's absolutely, from my perspective, required is a certain level and time of no contact to shift that
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
I so agree with that. Yeah. I so agree with that. And
Yeah.
I've had that experience. I mean, and I do have exes that I'm friends with.
Mhm.
because there was, years in between.
Yeah.
And, when we got back together, there's still like a little familiarity, but it's like years have gone by and, I'm not at all in that place.
Yeah.
And so the friendship has been easier, but I really agree with that. I don't know about lifelong lesbians and what they're, if they, I mean, I know the whole like lesbians being friends with their exes thing is like a big thing for lesbians, period. I know a lot of later in life lesbians are kind of like, what is going on? Like,
Mm.
this woman I'm dating, she's talking to all her exes, this feels really threatening.
Yeah.
And understandably
Yeah.
so when it's, really frequent and they're spending a lot of time together and like it is confusing, right? But also I think there's something I've noticed. This is with one particular ex of mine who was a late bloomer. So I was out already for like 20 years and she was just came out.
Mm.
And after we had our time together, she got into a relationship with somebody else, which was not a limerent relationship,
Mhm.
but they went from a romantic relationship over a period of like 2 years to then just trying to shift along into a friendship.
Mm.
And one of them didn't want it. One of them still wanted the romantic and one of them wanted the friendship. And the one that wanted the friendship didn't want to let go of like didn't want that break in time that we are talking about that is
Yeah.
need so you can develop the friendship. And it became this like murky space that was really interesting. And it was like, why can't you just take the space? Like, why are you trying to hold on to this person? And it was interesting to watch,
Yeah.
so yeah.
What's the answer you usually give when they're asking that question of like why am I still holding on?
I mean, in this particular case, I think it was multi-layered, but I
Mhm.
think it was about not wanting to lose somebody. So the other person that still wanted to be romantic
Mhm.
was very much maybe limerent, I don't know, but like kind of obsessed, like
Mhm.
really wanting like this person so much. And the person who wanted the friendship instead, I feel like didn't want to lose those feelings coming toward them.
Right.
So I think that was one reason. I mean, I think they described having like a very sort of spiritual connection. I mean, actually, she described it as like, it was very interesting. She described it as like, it's almost like a sister. Like, it's such a close friend. Like, this is such a close friend that it's like a family member.
Mhm.
And I don't have a lot of people in my life that I have that kind of connection with. And so I don't want to lose it, but it was creating a lot of conflict for them. And I kept suggesting you can have the friendship after you take the no contact time.
Right. Right.
Like you can
Exactly.
come back. So I think there also was some codependency and, being worried about the person who was, still having the romantic feelings and is she going to be okay? And am I going to be seen as a bad person? I mean, a lot of
So layered. Yeah.
so layered and still I don't even think it's clear on their part, but
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but it's really like that space is, if it's important to you that you might be able to be friends with this person later, the space is essential.
Yeah. Agreed. For sure. And it's space that I think a lot of times there's like it's hard to say or to name out loud like I need to go no contact because we feel like we're hurting the other person and we're like, we're harming them in some way. But I think it's so powerful when you're able to name that as a boundary for yourself and say, "Yep, I need this to be something that I follow through on to not only cultivate more self-trust in myself, but also to heal. And we don't often give ourselves the space that we need to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I'm trying to think if I went no contact with a couple of my exes. Um, I kind of went back and forth on it where I was like, okay, I'm no contact. I'm on week 10, I'm on week 12, I'm on week 16, and now I'm 6 months,
Right.
and then there would be some kind of a communication that would happen.
Hmm.
And then it would be like, in that space of no contact, it felt like there was no new information entering into the system. And
Hmm.
and because of that, I was like, this is a breakup where I was very hurt by the end.
Mm.
By the end of the
Yeah.
relationship, I was very hurt. And so and then no contact was like, I don't want to be any more hurt than I am. Like, we need the no contact. I need to go no contact. But then I'm kind of suspended in like the memories and like the things that were good and and it wasn't all good, but I'm not getting any new information to help me process like what wasn't good. And the no contact wasn't helping me because the longer that went, I was kind of like, you know, I don't know, like, is this person doing their work? Are they changing? Like that little hopeful part was still there. And so what I found was that every time then that I did have a little bit of contact, like if she would email me or something like that, I would be like, oh my God, nothing has changed,
Mm.
and that felt helpful. And I was like, I need this information. Like when I'm in the no contact and I'm not getting the information, it's keeping me in that state of hopefulness. Whereas
Hmm.
if I get the information, then I'm kind of like, ick, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a familiar cycle. It's like, and then noticing that, like, if you do have contact after going no contact, that your nervous system can read that, but also like the crash that you feel after like the dopamine hit that comes in when you do have the exchange, or you do have a limited amount, and if there's like nothing, no new information, but you just have, it's like you can imagine having that person's attention for 10 minutes, and that can be enough for you to be like, oh my god, like, I know you thought about me for these 10 minutes because you wrote this email. And so that's the thing that like hooks you in, and then the crash that you have afterwards can be like devastating because you're like, but we got along so well, or we did this, this is the thing, or we're so cordial, or we're not being assholes to each other. Because like if you're in this space of ending a relationship, I always say it takes effort to get into one, it takes effort to get out of one. And if you're in the space of ending a relationship and you're angry, then it's easy to move on because you're like, yep, I'm angry with this person. I can kick them off the planet, right? And then you don't have the hopefulness come back because you're like, yep, I'm clear. And I think I posted a while ago about like why women, especially who love women, hook into the back and forth of like being friends with their exes too soon without having the no contact, but also like why we kind of accept treatment that if we were in the straight world, we probably wouldn't, right? And so, like, if a man was treating me the same way and like hot, cold, push pull dynamic, I'd be like, fuck off, right? But we have this like, we're conditioned to believe that women aren't going to treat each other that way. And so that's the lens through which we kind of take in the information. And so, even if they're hot and cold, or not even hot and cold, just kind of neutral, it can be like dopamine hit. This is the thing that feels good to me. I'm excited that you've reached out to me, or I'm excited, even if there's no hope of anything getting back together, anyone getting back together. But it's like, it's those small moments that I think are really nuanced and layered that I don't know happen in the same way in the straight world and heterosexual dynamics, that it happens with queer women.
Yeah. I mean, I think of it as sort of, it's like, it takes a lot of, at least in my case, not in all of my relationships, but like it takes a while to like end. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like the ending is like, we're ending. No, we're not ending. We're ending. No, we're not ending, and it's like a lot of back and forth
Yeah.
until it finally is over. Whereas I don't know about straight couples, but it doesn't seem like that's necessarily the case.
Yeah. No, it feels like there's something that's clear. And then, if you have the history, like, you know, looking back, like I know my history, like relationships that have ended where I've felt like residual energy around has been rooted in like my oldest wound, which is like I'm a surviving twin and my twin sister was stillborn, but I spent 7 months in utero with this person energetically. And I've had a relationship pattern where I've not had full clarity or full closure, and it's been abrupt and it's been without clarity. It's very similar. The energetics of it is fascinating. It's like
Yeah.
she left, she was stillborn. I was born 2 months early. Um, and I've done some meditative work. I've worked with mediums, and I've trying to understand like what happened, and I've done work to kind of go back to the experience of being in utero and like energetically felt her with me and then not. And that has replayed in significant relationships throughout my life, which has been really interesting. And so for me, like my work, I know where the root is, I know where it's coming from, and then like my own disorganized attachment style kind of plays out as an adult, as it will. So, and I think it's specific to everyone's unique and everyone has their own stuff that they're bringing to their relationships. But really, my work with my clients is to help them become aware of themselves and figure out like what those patterns are so they can choose with awareness to do something different
Hmm.
with that awareness, with understanding patterns, understanding attachment style, understanding because you can have like cognitive awareness of what your attachment style is, what your love language is. You can be able to name it, but to really embody and understand, like, oh, this is the thing that's coming up, and there's nothing broken or wrong with me, can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. It's good that you did that work and that really located that core wound. It's amazing how that really does play out, our core wounds.
for sure.
Yeah. So later in lifers, it's
Hmm.
like do the work. I guess one part of me wants to say, like, I get it that you want to have the experience of what it's like to be with a woman because your whole life, you might have known your whole life and didn't come out, or you just realized later. And I think because so many women are demisexual, it's hard to just go out and have a sexual experience. And that's part of it, but it's not all of it,
Hmm.
at all. It's like the emotional connection and the friendship. And so it's hard to slow down and to
Hmm.
wait. But I think there's so much value in really slowing down. And in fact, I was talking to an old client this morning and she was sharing a story with me about a woman she went on 2 different dates with. And
Hmm.
she was saying that the first time she met her, it was like every cell in her body was just like, my God, like this person. Like everything about this person. And then they had one more date. And on the second date, and throughout the time in between, it might have been a few weeks in between, there were all of those feelings happening. And on the second date, there were like a little bit of actual red flags
Mm,
happening,
yeah.
but that she didn't really, she was like, I think, like to herself, she was like, I think that's okay. Like I can live with that red flag kind of thing. You know what I mean? Somebody who came out later who really wants the experience. And then the woman she had dated kind of was like, I don't think I can do this. So she basically cut it, she cut it after the second date.
Yeah.
And I was sharing with this former client of mine this morning how I kind of think of it as like when you have that connection with somebody that feels like you said with your ex, where you meet somebody and right away you're like, you're my person. And within a week, you're in love with this person or you think you're in love with this person, right?
Right. Yeah.
That is a huge red flag.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes.
That is, and that's what so many people are going after. They're like, I want to have all those feelings. And the minute you have them, you're like, these are the best feelings I've ever had in my entire life.
Hmm.
But if you think you're in love, you know, in like a week or a month, even, or I want to say 3 months or even 6 months
Yeah.
with somebody, like in love, it's a red flag. This is a red flag. It's, you have to slow down. Like that is your red flag. So for anybody listening,
Yes.
it's such a
Agreed.
shame because those feelings are like so amazing,
It feels so good. Yeah.
it feels
Yeah.
so good.
It feels so good.
I know. I know. It's such
But
a
it's,
shame.
and it's such a shame, but it's such a good learning because also the other thing that was happening was like, we were so excited and so like just enamored, and I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was writing poetry at 3 a.m. I was like, oh my God, I've never felt this way. Like this is it. You're my person. And like hooking into that, and I had friends looking at me like, you're fucking crazy. And then to give us both a lot of grace and generosity is like we both fully were like, yep, like this makes so much sense to me. And we had done like I said earlier, we had done the relationships and we had been around the block, as they say. And we are really we ended up being really, really good friends. Like we just had such a great, like easy connection. And but my nervous system, like 3 days in, was like, slow down. And the thing that happened, and I'll just say this, like I had said one day, like I was hanging out with my kids, and they were eating, and I couldn't eat, and they were like, why can't you eat? And I was like, I don't know, but I can't eat. And then I was like, I remember sending a message saying I need to take the afternoon and like give us a break from like all the texting, all the conversation, all the, it was like nonstop
Yep.
questions and conversation,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
felt really good. And I was like totally into it. But and then she had a reaction to that that was like, what do you mean? Like, and just in hindsight to like say like where that was coming from for her, it was like she was excited. She was, she just wanted the clarity. And because I said I needed to slow down for this afternoon, I was like, wait, let me be clear. I'm still in this, but I want to, let's slow it down. And then I abandoned myself in that because I bypassed my nervous system. I tried to, and we all know your nervous system is going to be the thing that wins all the time. And I moved my life, and I was like, yep, let's do this. And tremendous amount of learning in that, because now in hindsight, it's like, yeah, no, we didn't actually love each other. We didn't know each other. We like to say that we knew each other because of all the questions and all the answers and all the things, and we felt really aligned. But in the end, it was like, actually, no, that's not what happened, which is a huge lesson. But something I posted about the other day was like this thing that I had learned. I saw somebody else posting, talking about what's called a bump contract. Have you heard this? It's like when you have you've heard like people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so, but within the reason of somebody coming into your life, I always used to say like once that reason is met, they can be in your life just differently. But the bump contract is it's a contract that your soul has with another person's soul, and you literally bump into each other when you're meant to like be the catalyst for opening up whatever is meant to happen for that person and their soul journey and their path and their life purpose. And I think, my ex was we definitely had a bump contract. And like we just bumped into each other at the exact right timing and the divine timing of it all and how it came together. And even how it ended was like, this was exactly how it was supposed to happen.
Mhm.
So
So it's not actually like a contract. It's more of a way of understanding why somebody comes into your life in a certain way at a certain time and might exit your life at a certain way at a certain time.
yep. And
Yeah.
it's like not somebody that's supposed to stay in your life forever. It's like you literally bump into each other and you have your experience, and then you're, you know, you're in each other's lives just differently. You're not in the same dynamic that you started in.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It creates a lot of space and a lot of room for compassion, because I think a lot of times people can go, especially if relationships end, you can, you get all activated, or you can be triggered, or you can kind of find yourself in the victim place and be like hurt. And like the heartbreak of that is important, and moving through the grief of that is important. But the reckoning with and understanding and having space for, okay, what were the lessons that I was meant to learn in this relationship? And those are the takeaways, because like everyone you meet is supposed to teach you something, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. We're here to learn,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Well, hopefully the listeners out there are taking this all in and also really, just thinking about this in terms of how you're moving forward in dating and in relationships with others and also with yourself,
Yes, definitely.
and how
That's what,
important yeah, it's,
yeah, that's what I want to teach, is staying with yourself in relationship. How do I
yeah,
do that? Yeah.
yes, yeah. It's essential. Christine, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I would love if you could share with my listeners where they could find you and also what kind of offerings you have.
Yes. So they can find me on Instagram at The Real Poetic Paradox, or at Christine Vargo Psychotherapy, TikTok at The Real Poetic Paradox, or go to my website, therealpoeticparadox.com.
And are you running any kind of programs for women or groups, anything like that?
Yes. So this first focus that I'm working with is working specifically with queer women who are struggling with limerence, self-abandonment, and the anxious avoidant attachment dynamics that show up so much in our relationships. And I am currently filling groups. Right now I have a group running on Thursdays that's full. And then I have an evening group that's actually starting very soon. I've met some really great people so far. And yeah, I just want to bring more of the conversation to more people in the community so they can have a safe space to do the work and to understand themselves a little bit better, and to have a community with each other. And I'm excited to be able to offer it, to hold the space, to have the bandwidth and the capacity to do that. And everyone in these like first 3 to 4 cohorts, I am offering free and first access to my online program that I am anticipating that I will launch before the end of 2026. And that will be The Art of Staying, the self-trust method for love that does not cost you yourself.
I love that. Fantastic. So exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. Feels good to be in the space. It feels good to meet more people. I feel like being in private practice, you can get very isolated. And I was just saying to myself not too long ago, I was like, I need more queer friends, or I need more queer people in my life. And so now that I've like honed in on this niche, I definitely have more queer clients, which I'm loving.
Yes.
So just expanding that out, which is great.
Fantastic. Such a great offer, and definitely one that is needed because I imagine it can feel very lonely being in that space.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Great. Thank you so much. And there'll be more information in the show notes if you didn't catch everything here. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?